Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday to all of you, and Happy New Year. This is our first official Board of Commissioners meeting of 2023. It is. It's good to see all of you all and to be back in the land of the living. And 2023 is already getting off to being a great year. We believe it's going to continue to be a good year as we move forward. I want to call our meeting to order. And as we get started, I want to invite our good friend to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our good friend, Reverend Walter Brown from Good Hope Baptist Church. Reverend Brown, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Our Father, which art in heaven, Father, we come here this morning thanking you. Father, you said if we ever need you, Father, all we had to do is call on you. And Father, I feel like right now is a needed time. Father, we just want to take time out to say we thank you for a day we never seen before and a day we never see again. And Father, as we go through this session, Father, just be with us and stand by us, Father, and bless each and every one that's here, Father. And as we go through this session, Father, just be with us and give us an open mind and bless all the ones over the land, wherever they may be. And Father, these blessings and all other blessings, we thank you in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you to Reverend Brown. Thank you, Reverend Brown, for always being available when we call on you, and we certainly do appreciate the work in your team that you all do here in Rockdale County. So thank you, Reverend Brown, again for coming out this morning and leading us in invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Looks like we do have number 3, special recognitions. I'm going to call up Chief Sanders.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners.
Good morning.
This morning I'm really pleased to come before you. We are at a point right now with the Judicial and Administrative Task Force, who they began meeting in April of 2022 and started working on a proposal, which is what the board asked them to do. So their goal was to propose a solid recommendation on the future of the Judicial and Administrative Complex Project in Old Town Conyers with community input. So today, the 9-member task force made up of citizens, all citizens, and then some of those are county leaders. They began in April. They interviewed consultants in July, and in August, they started working with Jericho Design Group. So Mr. Doug Shaw from Jericho is here today, and he has a presentation to go over the summary of the final recommendation, and there are some task force members as well in the audience, but I'd like to call up Mr. Doug Shaw, please.
All right. We're going to give you a round of applause as you come up, absolutely.
All right, I didn't expect that.
Well, let me just say this, Mr. Shaw, before you get into your presentation. We appreciate you, and we certainly do appreciate this task force, the citizens of Rockdale County putting their mind to a very important cause. And I'm going to stop there. We'll come back later. But we're excited, and we're anticipating hearing good news this morning.
Well, that's great, because I think we got some exciting things to show you as well. So the task force worked really hard. And as I go through the presentation, you know, if you have questions or if you want to slow me down, that's fine as well. So just, that's your prerogative. So just, if you got questions, just say, hey, can I ask this real quick? All right, so This is the table of contents that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to just go through some acknowledgments and a really quick summary. We did a very detailed programming session with a lot of folks in the county, touched both on the court side and on the administration building side to get the size of the building right. We did some site visits of similar facilities so that the task force could see best practices, what other communities have done, so that they can have that kind of thought process into the final report. And then we did some planning diagrams with them, site planning, and we went through 3 or 4 iterations to come up with the final recommendation that we're going to show you today.
Okay.
All right, so obviously we had our great task force. The 9-member team had great diversity of opinion and thought process, so I thought that was very important. And they did a great job in the visitation of the other facilities. They asked questions about why was this done and why was that done. I think they learned a lot about what I do in my world, from a security standpoint. And speaking of security, the sheriff's team went to see these facilities as well, making sure that these proposed facilities could be safely operated and use best practices as well. So a great team of folks were involved. I don't even have to say next, do I? They're anticipating me. All right, so this executive summary is just what is a replication of the framework that we were working within. It includes some of the goals that Ms. Sanders talked about and some of the things that the entire task force wanted to do. So I'm not going to spend much time on this, but just to let you know, we used that framework that you set out in order to move forward as we did the report. All right, and again, this is part of it as well. The pieces and parts that are going into the facility, what type of elements from the administration side, what type of elements from the court side would go into this new county complex. All right, so this is a summary spreadsheet of what is needed for both the administration building and the court complex. What we did is we met with all the departments that were going into the building, both from a county side, and met with the courts as well. Determine their needs, talk about future needs, discuss the rental properties that are out there and what those folks are going to be doing and how to reinvigorate them into the new building. So this is a summary of that. And what's important about this from a planning standpoint is once we have gone through this, I know what size building we're talking about for both the administration building size and the court side. The other thing that we included in this was an employee count as we went through, because parking is a very big, important part of how this solution comes together. Because I can barely see the numbers, 274 and 426. So 274 is what theoretically, from an employee and a staff, could be using the buildings. That was the parking count, and the other number, 426, would be the future staff. So the numbers you see on the size of the building include expansion of both buildings. It's not just what you need today, but it's also what you're going to need in the future for roughly 20 years. And in talking about that, so for instance, when we are looking at the planning of the building, we don't have to build all of it today. Some of it might end up being shell space for the future. So when we get to the diagrams, I'll expand upon that a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, so these are the facilities that we went to. The upper, gosh, I'm backwards. So to my left, but to your left too, okay. That's Newton County's courthouse. This is a little disorienting. It's Newton County's courthouse, so the entire team went down there. So Newton County's courthouse is a series of existing building and additions. We looked at the security flow, we looked at how the courts operated, and how the public interacted with the building. I think there was a lot of positive things that they saw down there. So that was a good kind of baseline that the task force saw in order to see some of the other facilities. They next went to Forsyth County, a couple of projects that I worked on, both their main courthouse and their juvenile courthouse. They actually separated their juvenile courthouse, and it just opened about 3 months ago. But we first went to the main courthouse. It was a new build. So from scratch, it has the security for both the inmate coming into the building, the staff coming into the building, and the public using the building. So there's really 3 circulation systems in these buildings. It's the public, it's the secure, and it's the staff. So all that was separated properly. It had good, safe, secure holding areas. It's actually got a bridge connected to the jail, so there's no transportation issues. So that was interesting for them to see. And I think there was a lot of positive comments about that particular facility. The next one we went to was the juvenile court, and basically it was a smaller version of the main courthouse. It was a build from scratch, and it had some of the same good security concepts and separation of the public from the secure, from the staff separation, circulation systems. The last facility we saw was Sandy Springs, and that was more related not to the courts, but to the administration building. And what we wanted to do is just see some of the newer ideas that are being built in buildings. One of the things they did in that building is they didn't put the offices on the glass, they put the offices on the outside and put the workstations along the glass. That way, everybody gets natural light into their work areas. So we looked at ideas like that. We looked at ideas of sharing conferencing space, how public interfaces from a permitting standpoint, and how that public interface happens. We also saw some security that they put into their building, and the IT systems that they put into their building. So I think it gave a broad base of perspective for the task force to see both the courts and kind of a modern office government building. God, I'm spending too much time. All right, so obviously you recognize this. This is the Old Town area, and this was the study area. Next slide. So first opportunity to go before the task force, we came up with 3 options. They're very different, but in general, the blue box is a new parking facility. The orange is courts, and the lighter blue is administration. And the scheme, or the option that seemed to be the most relevant and made the most sense, was option C. So we went on and came up with another version of option C, which you see here. Option C was presented. One of the things that it does is it preserves the location of the historic jail. The darker blue is the parking facility, which would be in place of this facility. And then the brighter blue is the administration building. The lighter orange is the addition of a courthouse annex. And the brighter orange is the existing facilities of the courts. The idea of this option is to do all the courtrooms and security measures in the new addition and renovate the older areas for potentially DA, clerk of court, things like that, so that you have your circulation systems that I talked about in your newer facility, because trying to retrofit that into the older facility would be very cost prohibitive. All right, so I visited the task force in, I believe it was early December, and came back with 2 options on option C. So C2 has 2 more options. So this was an iterative process, and I think this is a healthy process. I think this is what you want out of your task force. Absolutely. Is you want debate, you want discussion. So this is a diagram, and we did all this in 3D, so you'll be able to see kind of a fly around at the end of this. So this is option C2. One of the biggest discussion points was Milstead Avenue. And you see how Milstead Avenue kind of bisects and separates one half of the complex from the other. So this option keeps Milstead as is. There would need to be some kind of, with the parking facility, the main parking facility on the other side of the road, there would need to be some kind of raised walkway, pedestrian kind of centered crossing of the street, potentially a bridge, I don't know, in order for that to be really successful. Because if everybody's parking over there and walking over, you do have a lot of traffic crossing there. So we're going to go through a couple slides of what this looks like in 3D. So you see the pieces and parts there. Again, the light gray is the parking facilities, the blue is the administration building, and the orange is the courthouse annex, and the gray areas are the existing facilities. and this is a view from the other direction. And one of the next slide, one of the other interesting pieces that we were trying to do is create this community space in the middle. And this space is, one of the things that we saw at Sandy Springs was a big community space out in front of it. And this space is as wide and longer. So they activate that space and have events there all the time. So this space is a similar size and will allow you to have that same kind of activation of the whole area. Next. All right, so this was C2. This is the alternate version where we reroute Milstead. And you can see what it does for the complex between the parking facility and the rest of the buildings. You're just walking across green space and parking lots to get from the parking area to the newer facilities and the renovated facilities. It does do a big S-curve for Milstead, and I know that we would need to do more study in the future to figure out if that makes sense or if that works from a traffic standpoint. But from a safety and security standpoint, it was the preferred version of the task force. So let's take a look at some 3D versions of that. Again, similar view as the other C2. The light, or the dark gray on the bottom left is a parking facility. The blue is the administration building, and the courts are in the orange. Kind of the opposite direction. And actually that bend in the road at Milstead might be a nice drop-off point for the complex. I know there's a lot of traffic coming up and down there, but we would definitely have to study that. But it would create a interesting drop-off point at the where the old jail is. And then this is just a kind of a rear view if you're flying over the school administration building. And the next one is more of a front view off Main Street. And you can see how this new room exists in your city. And it exists for the county facilities that are there too. And it creates, again, this really nice public space that could be used for all kinds of activities. And it does have size and capacity. I mean, it really does. It's a lot bigger than you would think it is, but it is very strong. Next one, this is a view from the more the Main Street side, and the parking facilities to the left. The administration is the blue at the end, and then the yellow is the annex to the courthouse, the orange. And just, we put a little band shell in there just as an idea. It doesn't mean you're going to have that, but it might be something that you think about. And as well as where the grade works, you could have some built-in seating on the one side of the old Milstead roadbed side. So, and beyond on that same photograph is the parking facility. So it is a very safe transition from the parking facility to the newer buildings in the complex. All right, so what is this going to cost? So we've run some preliminary numbers, and I don't want you to get shocked by this. But the next step is, from a detailed design standpoint, it's really going to dig into the details of everything, do a lot of on-site investigations, actually revisit the programming document that we did that had the sizes of everything, because there's some duplicative things that we could do some things in the size and location to improve efficiencies of the floor plates. So there is it's basically what I'm telling you is kind of doable with this budget. Also include some contingency money in there, some soft costs, and from a escalation standpoint, there's phasing. So we put some phase escalation in there as well. Phase 1 is really the construction of the administration building and the courthouse annex, and then phase 2 would be renovation of the existing facilities, putting the new parking facility over here. So it's a two-phase type of project. All right, at this point, we'd like to do a quick, any questions before we go to this, the video?
I'm going to yield to both of the commissioners. Washington? Commissioner? Okay, all right, go right ahead.
All right, I'm not sure who's hitting play here. Here we go. All right. So again, this is concept C2, which is the preferred of the task force, which is including a reroute of Milstead. So as you spin around, you see all the pieces and parts again, the dark gray being the parking areas, the blue being the administration building, the darker orange being the courthouse annex, and the gray is just the existing facilities. And as you can tell, it really creates a nice green space, a vibrant space, a very unique element in lots of areas of Georgia, in fact. So it would be really something to see. We're going to get a little closer to the main areas there. That's the older jail that's right there. And then the green space, parking facilities. Again, you know what the colors are. And then more of a pedestrian view of everything. The older jail right there. You can see this wonderful green space. Your existing courthouse with the portico is right there. Potentially a band shell, integrated seating, and then you see the parking facilities. And then kind of just an overall view of it if you were looking from Main Street. All right.
A lot of positive options in there. Again, let's give them another round of applause. I mean, and I do, as the commissioner mentioned, we're on a time thing, but let me just say this very quickly, particularly to yourself and to our entire task force. The time, dedication, and commitment to this project is priceless. Thank you for your hours of sweat and time and traveling and going to various different facilities. But as I was looking at this presentation, Commissioners, one of the things that really just resonated in my spirit is that here we are in 2023, and Rockdale County is moving in a way and in a direction that it has never seen ever before. This new courthouse and judicial complex is going to thrust us into a whole different image and projection of a community and a county. When I looked at those images and talked about how it's going to level us up and give us something, as you stated, to look at, something to really kind of marvel at, and planning for the growth, thinking forward long after many of us in here are gone. When we think about the history and the beginning time frame of the original building across the street, this is very profound, very positive, and it certainly is a pivot toward progress. So I'm excited. I do, again, say thank you to each member of the task force. It was so important to have the sheriff and his team on board because you mentioned multiple times about security and the separation of passing of people, being employees, the citizens, and any type of inmate traffic that we'll have coming in and out of this facility. I'm gonna stop there. This is really a big deal for Rockdale County as a whole. Commissioner Washington?
First of all, thank you all, task force. I think I called each of you all individually and asked for you all to serve, and I don't think I had a no. And it's because of your love for this community, and it's because of your love for this county that you all dedicated so many hours to this, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you. It was my vision to have, like I said, people that I know love this community, but different ideas, different backgrounds, different talents on the task force. And when I see this, you all have exceeded my every expectation. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all of the hard work. I'm getting emotional because when I look at the images, you see your legacy. We see what not just I will be leaving in this county, but you all. So thank you all so much. And like the chairman said, this is the beginning of our transition to the next level, and it's because of you all and all of your hard work and dedication. So thank you all again.
Commissioner?
So I was extremely impressed with that final version that the task force is recommending. I like that the old jail is right there, you know, and part of the green space, and it's highlighted, because right now, you can drive right past it and never even realize what's there. And I think that's part of our history. And then moving forward with the spaces that will accommodate our staff, that will accommodate the security needed, as well as provide efficiency for our citizens. I did not anticipate that there would be that large green space. That makes me really happy. I think it's important to have a space where the community can gather. And I really liked that. So thank you so much for your work from Jericho. Thank you so much for the task force. I know that you met and met and met and toured and thought and planned, and I think you've come up with a great plan. So thank you.
Let me do this real quick. I want to call up Judge Munford. Come on up, Judge. Our Chief Superior Court Judge. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
And Judge, we do need that mic towards you
All
for,
right,
for
I'll
PR.
bring it
The
down.
PR director just looked at me with
I'm
that
kinda-
face.
I'm kind of noisy, but I'll keep it down. I hate to thank everybody again, but I want to thank Doug Shaw for his great work here with Jericho. I especially want to thank Sue Sanders and Andrew Hammer for the hours they spent trying to herd these cats, and they did a great job. I want to thank Wendy Armstrong in particular. She served as our secretary and did a great job for the county. Dr. Bull was here, always does a great job and had great insight into this process. Franklin Buford's here, the same for him. Donald Murphy was on the task force. Doug Smith was kind of our tech man, and he gave us a lot of great input. And of course, the inimitable Janice Van Ness, couldn't do it without her, who provided many points that I think were important to how this community needs to go forward and react to this program. Sheriff Levitt also served very ably, members of his staff, and it was obviously we hate to talk about it because the security situation at our courthouse is abysmal. And the sheriff is dedicated to the process that when we do these things, we can move forward and bring our security into the modern era instead of the 1930s. So I appreciate him. Also, Judge Reed with the state court, I think he was on the task force because he's the long-suffering judge who had to carry his courtroom on his back. Thanks to the commission, he no longer has to do that. He has a small courtroom that he's able to work with, and I appreciate that. The last thing I just want to say is that this is a plan created by a committee. Somebody said that if you had a committee to create a horse, it would be a camel. I do not expect everybody to be satisfied with this. I don't expect that any of us are fully satisfied with every bit of it, but it is a start in this process. I am thrilled and excited that this is going to go forward, that we are going to get some real improvement in our situation here at the courthouse. I also want to mention just in passing that I think the citizens need to know. It's not just the courthouse. We have some very serious problems with our administration building, the old Baptist Church building, which is essentially collapsing centrally on the interior and has had to be stoved up, essentially, with steel to hold it up. And that's something that has to be dealt with. It's not something that can be put off. We went around the state. I've been around a number of other places, and I don't want to take too much more time, but I want to say this. A courthouse is an expression of a community. It is everywhere in Georgia. It is that expression. People were very proud of the courthouses that have been built here for 100 years. And I'm proud of the courthouse that we have, and I'm going to be very proud of the courthouse of the future, which is going to bring us in line with every surrounding jurisdiction that has either built a new courthouse or built multiple new courthouses in the time that we have not made any progress here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Mayor, Mayor Vince Evans. Mr. Mayor, stand up, please. Give him a round of applause. One of the bragging points I know that the mayor and I share all across this region is that in our community, both the county and the city work well together. We are in constant communication, and we've been since we both have been serving as a team. And it started under the leadership of former Mayor Randy Mills, and it has continued through the leadership of Mayor Vince Evans, and we certainly do appreciate the relationship, the camaraderie. We have only one city here in Rockdale County, and we're so small enough, yet big enough, that we have sense enough to be able to communicate and stay in touch with each other during the good times, the not so good times, and the times that we all say, So I'm proud of the relationship with the city of Conyers and Mayor Evans. Give the mayor another round of applause if you would. At this time, go ahead, Commissioner.
I was the chairman of the task force.
Yes, yes. Commissioner Van Ness, come on up if you would, please. Give the commissioner a round of applause. Commissioner Van Ness served as the chair of this task force, and I do want to say real quick, Commissioner, that Commissioner Washington, I never forget the morning that she came into my office. She said, Mr. Chairman, I got an idea. I said, okay. She says, I want to lead up this task force. I said, have at it, and let's make it happen. And certainly, Commissioner Van Ness, your name was at the top of the list.
Thank you
for your time, your dedication. I know that you're a lifelong native resident of Rockdale County, and what this project really meant to you from a heritage and history piece of this community. Talk to us.
So thank you very much. I very much did appreciate serving with some great colleagues. It was truly my honor to be able to work on this important project and to really advance our opportunities here in Rockdale. And I can't say enough good things about our colleagues, as well as the other Sue Sanders, Andrew, the IT department, Sheriff's Department, all of the employees of Rockdale County who also supported the task force effort. So, but thank you again to Doug Shaw and Jericho for doing an outstanding job of listening to what the task force really had in mind and getting the correct data in place. So, you know, I think the task force talked about bringing efficiency to services in Rockdale County, as well as, although it's outside of our purview, but just efficiently using taxpayer dollars for these projects that will be, I think, a real keystone in our community moving forward. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for your dedication. Chief Sanders, is there any other piece to this presentation that we need to make sure we cover before we move on?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention that, so this is the concept from the task force. The next piece of this is we currently have a request for qualifications out for a program manager, and this group would manage the actual project. So there'll be, this is not a design, so there will be that process where we go through design and really refine the budget and the spaces. And during that time, there'll also be public input and different parts of that process. So this is the beginning and a great start. I really appreciate the task force. They all worked hard. Like the judge said, they didn't agree on every aspect, but they came to a final agreement on a recommendation. Definitely appreciate working with them in the future as well. So thank you.
All right, very good, good. Commissioner? Commissioner Williams?
I'm just amazed at what the process has brought about and how Sue has led this and continues to lead this process. Chairman, Commissioner Van Ness, I think, you know, you being the chair with the judge and the sheriff and the input of the citizens, I think it's interesting and important that the mayor is here today. I hope that that's because he's in approval of this particular project. He's put a thumbs up, so yes. Because it does require, because Millstead is a city street, it does require the cooperation of the city to work with us. But I think it's going to be a great, you know, we have the school behind us, the school administration, we'll have our building, and then not too far is the city complex. And it's going to really make Rockdale County cohesive and something to be proud of.
Happy 2023. We're off to a good start. Give them another round of applause. All right, Commissioners, we're going to move forward with the remaining items on our agenda this morning. Moving now to item number 4, the approval of the agenda. What's your pleasure?
I move to approve the agenda as published.
I second that motion.
It has been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Executive Director Rutledge, there's no unfinished business.
That's correct.
Okay, we're moving right on to the regular agenda.
All right.
Item number 2023-1.
So we have no consent today, so each item I'll read and then we'll vote, so.
Okay.
So the first item is 2023-01, Environmental Systems Research Institute, ESRI, through Technology Services Department. This is for the professional services to increase awareness and application of our geospatial strategy for departments and elected offices in the amount of $20,900, and this is through March 31st, 2023.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 2 is with Sunbelt Traffic LLC through the Transportation Department. This is for the traffic signal maintenance services. This is one of 2 recommended awardees, and it's a unit price contract estimated at $25,000 per year at 12 months with the option to renew 4 one-year periods.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 3 is with Lumen 8 through the Lumen 8 Transportation Technology through the Transportation Department. This is for the traffic signal maintenance services. This is one of 2 recommended awardees and a unit price contract estimated at $25,000 per year. This is for 12 months with option to renew 4 one-year periods.
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 4 is with Centos Corporation through the General Services, RDOT, Water Resources, and this is for uniform rental services. It's a change order number 1 to contract 2021-102. This is to add Planning and Development Department for the inclusion of the uniform rental and laundry services for the industrial pants only. It's also a unit price contract. It's an additional $3,792.36 per year for 60 months.
I'm sorry. I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 5 is with Go Forth Williamson's Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is to remove, rebuild, and install 2 service pumps at the High Tower Pump Station. This is change order number 2 to contract 2022-58 for additional unexpected repairs not seen until the pump and motor were taken apart, and it's an additional $3,685.
And isn't that the way it always goes?
What's your pleasure?
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, item 6 is with Vanessa Hagen Bruslin Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is for long-term water quality and biological monitoring services in the amount of $71,771 through December 31st, 2023, with option to renew 2 additional 1-year periods.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 7 is with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, the Environmental Protection Division, through the Water Resources Department. This is the application for a permit to withdraw or divert surface water. It's submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are any comments or questions on this one?
Well, I think that we ought to have an explanation of what that is. We've, gave our approval for them to go ahead and do it, but I think,
Director Pete? Good morning, sir. Good morning. All right, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, the contract for the, good morning, everyone, I'm sorry. The contract for the ratification, I'm sorry, you are ratified, but the contract for the withdrawal permit. Pretty much state waters, we have a reservoir, the Big Haynes Creek, and the Randy Portner Reservoir. We have to, every 10 years, we have to renew this permit to withdraw the water from Big Haynes Creek because of state waters. We withdraw the waters and we divert the water to the G's Mill Treatment Facility for distribution and treatment, for treatment and distribution.
thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Director.
All right, thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, item 8 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the state court, the DUI Court Supervised Treatment Program Grant.
I'm sorry, Executive Director. It just hit me all of a sudden. You made that sound so simple. I mean, really, the way you just came, just really kind of resonated with it. Give the director a round of applause. He just came up here and just rattled off that answer, like just made it sound so like you've got to have the water be diverted and we do distribution and wham, bam, there it is. And, you know, I think oftentimes when we go through these items, particularly when we think about the essential things that we need, there's nothing more essential other than our human resources than water in Rockdale County. It's our most valuable asset. So, Director Pete, thank you for your leadership. And thank you for the teamwork of the folks in your team. I just want to, you know, this is a new year. We got to make sure that we spotlight where it needs to be spotlighted and that we highlight those things that are moving this community forward. So let's give them another round of applause. We'll go back to the next item in just a second.
But it just sounded like we needed that. I mean, we're diverting water.
Yes, so
Where
thank you.
are we diverting water to?
Right, absolutely. And Commissioner.
us.
Yes, we spend so much money. We talk about it in each one of these meetings every Tuesday. The amount of money we spend on chemicals to treat the water and make sure that our citizens are getting, if you're paying attention to what's going on across the country, you see that not just Flint, Michigan, but not just the state of Mississippi, but all different parts of the country are dealing with issues concerning their water. Water is essential, and you got to have it. It has to be. We have a very good team here in Rockdale County. We're fortunate that we have our own reservoir. The Randy Porter Reservoir is a plus, and hats off to all of those visionaries way back then that thought about us today. And I think we just did a little bit of that this morning about the folks down the road. So forward thinking is what it's all about. We're not to board comment yet. Next item, please.
All right, so. Item 8, redo. This is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the state court. This is the DUI Court Supervised Treatment Program Grant, change order number 1 to contract 2022-100 in the amount of $46,386. The term is January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this grant as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, item 9 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the Superior Court, Accountability Court, and the Adult Drug Court. This is for Enhancement and Innovation Grant, change order number 1 to contract 2022-99. The amount is $44,391. The term is January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 10 is with Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the Superior Court. This is for the Local Law Enforcement Grant in the amount of $37,000. The term is January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this grant as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next
All right.
item, please.
Item 11 is with Tammy D. Myers through the Superior Court Drug Court. This is for the part-time case manager under a grant, and it's not to exceed amount of $43,580. It is 1 year with 3 12-month renewal periods, and this is a grant-funded expenditure.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that
It's
motion.
been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Tammy is just phenomenal. And those that she manages who are in the accountability courts really appreciate the service she provides to them. They love her. They respect her. She's kind, but she's firm in what in making them accountable for what they need to be accountable for. I think one of my favorite things about Tammy is that Tanisha Character, who's a graduate of the DUI court and now is a consultant with the county, said she never dreamed that the person who would be her case manager has now become her friend.
Wow.
And that's the kind of relationship that she engenders. And so I just want to call her out and tell her how much I appreciate her.
Very good. Very good. All right. Did we close that one out?
No,
All in favor say, it's been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, thank you. Item 12 is with Judicial Council of Georgia at the Superior Court, and this is for the ARPA Backlog Cases Grant in the amount of $2 million. The term is January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this grant as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 13 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council to the Superior Court, the Accountability Courts Grant for Housing. The total amount is $73,973. The term is October 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this grant as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions?
Oh, yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
We had a meeting last week about housing needs in Rockdale County, and Brenda Ernest, who wrote up this proposal and grant, had a lot of information to share with us. And as I was looking through it, there's a lot of interesting programs going on. It includes rapid rehousing in terms of several areas, rental assistance, rent application fees, rental deposits, last month rent. You know, if you don't just go out and rent a place, you've got to put money up front, and a lot of these folks don't have money up front, as well as utility deposits and utility payments as necessary. And then for immediate housing, there's some of it is allocated for hotel and motel vouchers. And Brenda runs that program, and again, she is just one dedicated person who really is concerned about the citizens in our county and working to make sure, because stable housing is just a key to beginning a life of stability. If you're always worrying about where you're going to be and how you're going to pay for it,
Well,
you
you're
can't be
absolutely
very
right.
stable.
You're so right, Commissioner. We just received, and today is just Tuesday, but we received 2 very lengthy pleas for help from citizens in the community. One is a family of 5 children and a parent. Then there's another group. We get a lot of this, folks calling, looking for assistance and guidance and direction and support and help throughout. Housing is a major crisis all across the country. Rockdale County is not exempt from that. And I couldn't have said it no better. There are some folks who can't afford a deposit for rent or a deposit for utilities. Some folks just trying to figure out how to pay for a carton of eggs that is skyrocketing high right now. So to have talent like Ms. Ernest and really good people here in Rockdale County who are dedicated to the causes of other people. It really what makes us stand out as a community and as a county, because from our judicial system, from the sheriff's office, the mayor's office, the police department, the school system, all parts of our community, there is a lot of care and concern. And then even the scenario where you talked about one person being a part of the program and now is serving as a consultant. Never could have imagined that now they have a job after coming through a recovery program and now being a part of fixing and helping other people in the community. Rockdale County is certainly a community of care and making sure that we provide for the citizens. So you're so right, and I hope that all those folks that we're giving a shout out to this morning are listening to this broadcast or watching this, because we do appreciate the work that they do. And let me say this while Commissioner Washington, real quick, while I'm in this lane, that there are multiple cries and pleas from the community, particularly around this subject of housing. We hear you. It's heartbreaking sometimes when you're just not able to help everybody. There is no mystery pot of gold that the Board of Commissioners has somewhere that can just put everybody in a house or an apartment. We're not set up like that. So with the help and support of so many local nonprofit agencies, our local clergy, certainly can't leave out our faith-based community, are really doing a lot of work behind the scenes to try to combat this crisis, because there is a crisis, and like I said, Rockdale County is not exempt. But thank you to Ms. Ernest, and thank you to all of those who put their hand to the plow every day to make a difference in our community. Did we close this one out?
Yes, we did.
All right, next item, please.
Okay, item 14.
Okay.
Item 14 is with the Hospital Authority of Rockdale County for the Superior Court Resource Court. This is for mental health support grant, the amount of $3,000. It ends June 30th, 2023.
I move to approve this grant as presented.
I second the motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I've been told to speed it up.
This is also an interesting grant, because while it's only $3,000 and there's still $140,000 left, are we in a hurry? Okay, I'll be fast. Part of this grant is gonna be to, to help some of their clients who apply for disability, but standard practices, you typically get denied, and then they need assistance in going back and reapplying and following through. So anyway, that's what some of this money's for. So let's hurry.
Next item, please.
All right, don't tell me that. I can read fast. Okay. Item 15 is with Kenny Mortuary Services LLC through the Coroner's Office. This is for the body transport removal service in an amount not to exceed $20,000 per year. This is for 1 year with option to renew 3 additional 1-year periods.
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 16 is with Crown Castle with Rockdale County EMA Department through the Smyrna, this is for the Smyrna Road Tower. This is contract change order number 2022 to contract 2007-46. This is for the permission to modify the Verizon equipment on the Smyrna Road Public Safety Tower. This is at no cost.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 17 is with Swirl Films for the JMN Productions LLC through the Parks and Recreation Department. This is for the filming of Judge Me Not and the parking at the courthouse. It's $3,500 in revenue. The day was December 18, 2022, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Right. Item 18 is with Banks, Finley, White and Company. This is for the Finance Department for audit services in an amount not to exceed $94,150 per year. This is for the years ending December 31st, 2023, 2024, and 2025.
I move to approve this contract as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 19 is with the National Council for Behavioral Health doing business as National Council for Mental Wellbeing through the Talent Management Department. This is to provide in-person and virtual consulting and technical services in the amount of $31,600. This is for 1 year, and this is ARPA funded.
Well, you know that I move to approve this contract.
So you really moved to it. Okay.
Yes.
I guess I really second that.
All right.
All right, it has really been a motion and second.
All right.
You really have any questions? All in favor say, all in favor say yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Yay, aye.
Whatever.
Motion carries.
All right.
Next item, please.
Item 20 is with Hills Academy through the District Attorney's Office. This is to implement the Boost HARC program. This is change order number 1 to contract 2022-129 to add additional services at an additional cost of $25,340. This is a grant-funded expenditure.
I move to approve the contract as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 21 is with the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Development Disabilities Division of the Behavioral Health Office of Addictive Diseases. They're the coordinator of Addictive Diseases Initiatives through the Board of Commissioners Office. This is the grant for staffing for Diversion Center in the amount of $300,000. The term is September 29th, 2022 through August 31st, 2023, and this is submitted for ratification.
I move to ratify this contract as presented that took months for them to get it to us. After they told us we had it.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 22 is a requisition through the Fire Rescue Department for Derek Crawley doing business as Fire Safety Plus for fire inspections consulting services for 1 year in the amount of $36,000.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second the motion.
Chief Mack, can you speak to item number 22, please?
Oh, excuse me. Oh, so excited to see you all. I almost tripped. So, filled with excitement. I mean,
Well, we
let me
can't have
calm
that.
myself
We
down.
can't- we can't
Let me
have
calm
that.
myself down.
Yeah, take your time.
I mean, just to see your beautiful
Take your
faces
time.
this
Take your
New
time.
Year's.
There is no emergency.
Oh, let me just step back for a moment.
Okay, get it together. Take your time.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
All
So
right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Derek Crowley, have you had the pleasure of meeting, comes to us with a wealth of experience. As we've increased our staffing for fire prevention, fire safety education, we're looking to enhance how we're doing business and inspections, fees, and things such as that. So he's meeting with us to help build that system up. We've introduced that system to you. Right now, they've been meeting with the county attorney, just trying to get things lined up. So Mr. Crowley's helping us revamp the Fire Prevention Bureau, because it's not just about going out and inspecting. It's not just about going out and teaching a class. There's a lot more that goes into fire prevention from our residential and our business communities.
Okay, all right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that and giving us an update. I do recall meeting Mr. Crowley, very impressed, and I was kind of put in awe when he shared with us some of the gaps that we were missing here
Absolutely.
in Rockdale County. So this is another step in the right direction, Commissioners. All right, Chief, take your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so
Commissioners,
we had a motion and a second.
We have a motion, seconds, and properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 23 is a requisition through the Sheriff's Office for Killer Creek Harley Davidson. This is for two 2023 Electroglide Police motorcycles in the amount of $68,064.68.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'm always super excited when the sheriff's office can get motorcycles. I just, first I think about the local school zones.
They look so good.
And the fact that the speed zone through the school is 25, through the school zone is 25 miles an hour. And I think about the fact that those motorcycle deputies serve as a deterrent for most folks in the mornings or in the evenings. And then during the summertime when our young people are out, they're able to move and maneuver in a way that a Dodge Charger just can't do. So this is another weapon in the arsenal of the sheriff's office, and we look forward to seeing them moving throughout Rockdale
You're
County.
thinking about all that. I'm thinking, I wonder if
You
the
gonna
sheriff
slow
will let
down?
me, if he'll let me drive one.
Ride one?
Not ride, I have a permit.
All right, you see if I can get deputized first, then we'll do all
I gotta
that.
do all that.
All right, okay, so, we have a,
We're finished with that one.
we finished with that one? Okay.
I guess.
Thank you, okay.
Okay,
That's
all right.
That's all right. Next item, please.
Okay, item 24 is a requisition with stormwater management for Pro Shot Concrete. This is to add $589,097.38 to the original purchase order for a new purchase order total $1,126,347.38.
Director, you know what that price tag, you.
He should have just came on and started walking over.
Nobody's happy to see you all than me. So y'all think Chief Mack was happy to see y'all? I'm very happy to see y'all.
Just don't stumble.
See, I was very calm walking up here. The
I
cake
have
version.
a big exclamation point on
Big
my paper.
exclamation point. The cake version. There are times, but basically, first of all, Happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
Madam Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
Very happy to see you all. Been waiting on this day. In a nutshell, we have had to embrace contractors to get a lot of the work done in addressing this neglect of stormwater infrastructure. I have pipe contractors who basically dig up the pipe and replace it. I have a lining contractor who can basically take a fiberglass bladder, insert it into an existing pipe, heat it up with steam, and basically you have a brand new fiberglass pipe underground that prevents you from digging the pipe up. I also have shotcrete contractors under contract who basically install metal ribbing into pipes, spray it with concrete, and you have brand new concrete pipes underground without excavating, disturbing utilities, call it a locates, things of that nature. This is a situation where I had a chemical lining contractor that, for whatever reason in this climate, had subcontractor issues. I'm a very patient director, but I'm not that patient. So with that sense of urgency, I had to find somebody else that could get this work done in what I felt was a timely manner. So as a result, I've ended up moving money from that one contractor who couldn't get it done to one that I had under contract for the shotcrete service.
Yes, sir.
But they are also able to provide me the lining service. That way, you know, I can keep this work moving. You know, we have a lot of work out here to get done. I don't really have time to sit around and wait on people to get contractors in line, find subs, find help, yada, yada, yada. So in a nutshell, I'm moving money from one contract to another so I can keep this ball rolling in stormwater. It's just that simple.
So this 589,000 is already allocated, it was just allocated to
Yes.
somebody else and we're moving?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. So it's not new money?
No, it's not new money. It is old money that is sitting, and I need that to get some work done.
Sure.
Any questions?
Definitely want the work done in stormwater.
Director Simpkins, thank you for the cake version. Thank you for the work that you and your stormwater management department are doing on a day-to-day basis. Prior to you getting here, you know, we talked about stormwater being the star of the show. That's not a good thing.
Right.
You're no longer the star of the show.
Right.
You're actually getting the job done, and your leadership is speaking volumes for the direction that we're headed in. As you explained that, I heard the 2-for-1 that you're getting. And I also heard the long-term forward saving of county funds, which causes us to be better stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you so much. Give the director
Yes,
a
sir.
round of applause. Commissioners, if I could just take a privilege just for a moment to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Don Murphy. He's a part of the Judicial Task Force. Mr. Murphy, we did a big hoorah this morning. Thank you for coming in. Give him a round of applause for his time, dedication. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chief Sanders and Judge Mumford and former Commissioner Van Ness talked about, they mentioned your name as they called all of the names and the dedication that you all put into the work of this administrative building and judicial complex. But we want to say thank you. Thank you publicly for your time and your effort and your expertise as a Rockdale business owner and resident. So thank you so much, and we appreciate you being here. Yes, sir. All right. Next item.
Okay,
please.
so we're on item 24. We need a motion.
Okay. Commissioners, what's your pleasure? And thank you, Executive Director.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 25 is an expenditure request with Schneider Geospatial LLC through the Board of Assessors Office. This is for qpublic.net website hosting in the amount of $16,188.
I move to approve this request as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item 26 is an expenditure request for NAFCare Incorporated through the Sheriff's Office. This is for the inmate medical care for November 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2022. Sorry about that. In the amount of $240,008.33.
So, are those dates?
No, the dates are fine.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
that was just me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
So is this in addition to the contract that we have with NAPCare?
In addition to the contract?
Don't they have a medical contract?
They do
with
have a
MAPCare,
contract,
and
yes.
this is on top of, this in
I'm
addition
Not sure
to
if
the
it's on
contract?
top of it.
So even though they have a contract, each month they have to have the expenditure that comes from the contract.
Gotcha. Okay.
Drawdown,
All
basically.
right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve this request as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Any additional comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
All right, item 27 is an expenditure request for the DeKalb County Revenue and License Administration through the Water Resources Department. This is for sewage treatment for November 2022 in the amount of $64,292.13.
I move to approve this request.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 28 is a request for surplus of equipment from the Technology Services Department, General Services Department, and the Talent Management Department.
I move to declare these items as surplus as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 29 is an ordinance to amend the future land use map of Rockdale County's comprehensive plan as amended, so as to redesignate 1880, 1914, and 1920 Lake Rockaway Road from the medium-density residential future land use category to the high-density residential future land use category, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
So I move to approve the first read and refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 30 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 1880, 1914, and 1920 Lake Rockaway Road from the AR Agricultural Residential to the RM Residential Multifamily Zoning District, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 31 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 2304, 2322, 2332 Old Covington Highway from R1 Single Family Residential to M1 Limited Industrial, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first read and refer the ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 32 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 0 Southeast Salem Road from SRC NC, which is Salem Road Corridor Neighborhood Commercial District, to the SRC MXD, Salem Road Corridor Mixed Use Development District, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I saw
Next
that.
item, please.
I saw that. Okay. Item 33 is an ordinance to amend the future land use map of Rockdale County's comprehensive plan as amended, so as to redesignate property located at 0 Highway 138 Southeast, Highway 138 Southeast, and 2010 Southeast Weatherstone Circle from the commercial future land use category to the mixed use employment center future land use category, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 34 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 0 Highway 138 Southeast from C1 to RM to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and to refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 35 is an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 460 Honey Creek Road Southeast from the AR Agricultural Residential to CRS Collaborative Residential Subdivision Zoning District, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and submit the ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 36 is a requisition through the Public Relations Department for Amatrace. This is for a switcher and camera package for the Assembly Hall in the amount of $53,740.54. This is an emergency purchase and it's host funded.
I move to approve this requisition as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 37 is a resolution authorizing the chairman of the Board of Commissioners of Rockdale County to execute contracts with Enterprise Fleet Management.
I move to approve this resolution as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
All right, public comment.
Yeah, we're here now down to public comment. Okay.
Anybody else have any other cards? Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll read the disclaimer while the director is collecting.
Thank you,
As a
ma'am.
reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Thank you so much. First up is Ms. Charlotte Gellert. Come on up, Ms. Gellert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Good
Still
morning.
commissioners,
Good morning.
Morning.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
There were 8 ratifications on this agenda. I wonder, and these keep the county going in between meetings, and it's been almost 6 weeks since the last meeting. I'm surprised, though, that this agenda was only 3 pages long after that much time, because there's been one that was 7 pages long after a long recess. I noticed that you approved the minutes of December 13th, but those are already on the website. Usually they're not on the website until after they're approved. I want to also thank Chief Sanders for all of her work with the task force. She is definitely a veteran of courthouses. I wanted to know what was the status of the volunteers for the new SPLOST committee. Is that still open? What happened to the fillable form that was on the website and the search feature? Now it seems like you have to send an email to Mary Lou Montalvo to request to be on the SPLOST. I'm wondering when the finance department will update the ARPA financial report. I hope that the new interim director continues the transparency that was started by former finance director Mark Lewis by updating the ARPA report and the budget expenditure analysis as of December 31st. You approve a lot of contracts. I was wondering what the status of the contract with Solia Digital Media was for redesigning the website, and the same vendor for professional website development with ARPA money. Executive Director Rutledge has said we don't have to always make something an open records request. We can just ask a question. So, except when I ask a question December 15th to Director Pink as to why Rockdale was paying DeKalb for wastewater processing and any plans for Rockdale to take over that processing, I haven't gotten an answer. Now, I think he did explain it to the board one meeting, but I wasn't sure I remembered it, and I wanted to get it in writing. The task force information is still on the website under the BOC tab. I hope that the new recommendation report will also be there. I wanted to know the status of finding software to coordinate all the developments. Q Public, I'm glad that that's being renewed, and I don't know why my voice is so shaky. And finally, the three things that I hope are questions and answers for the front porch discussions: the courthouse, conflicting dates of meetings between the different entities, and the city and the county starting on their comprehensive plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillard, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. One of the things that we've encouraged all of our directors to do, as they so intensely pay attention to all of our public comments, to make sure they're taking down notes and that they do the follow-up and the follow-through with all of our citizens and their concerns. I will echo the sentiments of Ms. Gillard that she's right. Executive Director Rutledge did say, and we believe that, you don't have to do an open records request for everything. You can simply make a request. We won't make any excuses, but I will tell you there's been a lot of transition throughout the holiday season. The MLK holiday marks the actual end of the entire holiday season that started with Thanksgiving. A lot of moving parts, but we will certainly be able to follow up and follow through. Director Peak is here. He heard you. And Chief Sanders is here. She heard you. Director Mims is here. She heard you. So we will be getting back with you with the information, and we certainly do appreciate all of the ones that you mentioned and all the ones I responded to, and even the others that were on your list as well. So you can feel free to reach out to our offices, and you can hang tight, and you can see any one of those directors who are all actually here this morning. But thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Ms. Gillard. Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Commissioner.
You asked about the City of Conyers comprehensive, well, you asked about both of them. I serve on the comprehensive plan committee for the City of Conyers. Right now, there's a survey available. That was going to be one of my board comments, that the people that live in the city can go and complete the survey, and that's the start of the comprehensive plan for the City of Conyers. We're still working in the county. We would love your input.
All right, okay. At this point, we'll move now to board comments and go back to you, Commissioner Washington.
Well, first, Happy New Year to both of you.
Happy New Year.
It's been, like I said, I told the chairman that he's been relaxing. He's here on 10, and we're still tired. We're tired. These first 23 days have worn us out.
Well, you hang around me a little longer, I'll make you even more tired, because I'm ready to work. It's
I know.
It's a new year. We got a lot of stuff to get done.
But it's been, and we knew that. We knew that coming in. But I'm looking forward to 2023. Have a lot of great things on the horizon. I wanted to also, going back to the Judicial Task Force, I wanted to thank Ms. Gellert, because she was there just about every task force meeting as a citizen, and that means a lot about your care for this community also. So thank you so much for being there.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Yeah. And Mr. Murphy, you didn't get to hear my emotional thank you for all of you all's hard work, and thank you for answering my call to serve. And like I told them, the recommendation and the committee's work far exceeds my expectations, and I expected a lot. So just the fact that it exceeded that means everything. So thank you so much for, once again, answering my call to serve. I'm glad it was fun. With that, Sue and Andrew, is Andrew here?
Yes.
Thank you all so much for, a lot of times things are up here, and they took all of this up here and made it into a seamless process and worked very, very hard so that we can have something that the citizens are going to be very, very proud of for eternity. So thank you so much again for that. Let's see. I wanted to give praise to our PR department for their outstanding sex trafficking forum. It was absolutely amazing. Things about sex trafficking I didn't know until I went to and it's not just sex trafficking, it's human trafficking. Because what I didn't know is, I said it at the forum, that, you think of sex trafficking, and I thought I was out of the target demographic for sex trafficking because of my age. But part of human trafficking is that they look for organs. So, you have to be very, very cautious about everything. And I told them, I'm 53. When somebody tells me I'm pretty, I might just get in the car because that would work on me. So you just have to be very, very diligent about who you interact with, because you never know.
Sometimes it's so hard. It's so hard. I try hard. In fact, it was one of my new thoughts for 2023, Director Holmes, that I was going to try my best to keep my composure up here when Commissioner Washington is sharing some of her thoughts. But there's never a dull moment, Commissioner.
Anyway, so I'm saying that in jest, but that's something that we all need to be mindful of, is that it is a very, very real statistic. We have a lot of girls, but the statistic on the boys was also very shocking. So I wanted to commend the Public Relations Department for doing such a great job. That panel that they had ran the gamut from law enforcement to just counselors, everything. So it was a very informative, very well-planned presentation. So thank you, PR.
Let's give Director Mills and PR a round of applause. And real quick, I do want to just interject and say this. Certainly making a little bit light of the humor coming from the commissioner, but she's correct. Human trafficking is very, very serious and is happening throughout all of Metro Atlanta. That doesn't exempt Rockdale from being a part of that. To have a forum like this kind to bring awareness to our area, and when you think about the number of young people, and you're right, boys are not excluded. This is something that should be talked about in our local churches, of course, in our schools, and all of our nonprofit and community organizations. You just never know. Things are really happening, and you have to be alert and be aware. So we do appreciate the leadership of Director Bibbs and the Public Relations Department. And Commissioner, I really appreciate you attending that forum too, because again, that shows the dedication from this board to be intimately involved with various topics that come through our community, and certainly that are led through this government. So thank you on that.
That was my pleasure. The other committee that I wanted to thank is our SPLOS committee. Last night we had a culmination. Once again, thank you, Sue, and thank you, Andrew, for putting that together. But our SPLOS committee has worked very, very hard in making sure that we have amazing projects throughout the county. And I was saying that I'm starting to hear so many positive comments about our Parks and Recs department. Most of the improvement we've had there were SPLOS funded. The things that we've been able to do with public safety, including fire, a lot of that has been SPLOS funded, and I wanted to thank the SPLOS committee as a whole, but definitely wanted to thank the personnel that work to make sure that everything is executed in such a great manner. Like everything looks good, safe, and things like that. I have a few events that are coming up. We're gonna be working hard for the next 2 weeks. But on February 3rd, State Representative Doreen Carter and I are hosting a heart health seminar. If you don't know, she's very, Doreen, or Representative Carter is very open about the fact that she had a heart attack. And she's very open about wanting to get the information on heart prevention, heart health out. So on February 3rd from 11:30 to 1, we will be having a heart healthy seminar at JP Carr Community Center. There will be a link that you can sign up if you are interested in attending. I'm looking forward to hosting that. February 8th, we had to move our small business mixer from the 14th to the 8th, and that's because I'm sure that you'd rather not spend the 14th with me at doing a small business mixer. You all have other people that you all could spend the 14th with, whereas me, once again, this is my 7th Valentine's. Still.
Did you just put out a little?
Yes, I did. Shamelessly. Like I said, I'm 53 years old, and we tend to do what we need. And then
Next item, please.
I'm very excited to introduce or reintroduce. I'm having Chat and Choose at our we have a brand new coffee house in Rockdale County. It's off of Sigmund Road, next to Cozumel's. I was about to say another venue, but I'm gonna say Cozumel's. From 6:30 until we leave. This particular Chat and Chew is because when we were going through the millage rate hearing, a lot of people said that they wanted to talk to the commissioners. This particular one is going to be a series of them, but this is going to be an open forum where the public can come and just talk about whatever's on their mind, and I'll do my best to answer the questions. And we'll have more formal Chat and Choose throughout the year, but that's February 9th at Mizu's on Sigmund Road. And, the last thing I wanted to say is, you talked about the benevolence of Rockdale County and all the things that we do that show that we care. I actually have benevolence of the citizens written down as one of my board comments, and I did that before you started talking. But one of the things that I've noticed throughout this, the last couple of months, is that a lot of people are coming to us not just for themselves, but advocating on behalf of other people in the community and other just trying to be advocates to make sure that other people are well taken care of. And I appreciate that so much, and it makes me want to work even harder when I hear so many people are concerned about their fellow man. So I really appreciate that. And I do believe that that's everything until Dr. Williams reminds me of something.
Commissioner Williams?
So Happy New Year to all of you and to the other board members. I'm excited as I start my 3rd term and look forward to what we can do in the next, how I can help in the next 4 years. You know, I've worked really hard with mental health and getting a diversion center, and we've finally accomplished some of those things, but there's a whole lot more work to do, and including housing and transportation, which I have already started working on. This Friday, we will be we're going on a field trip to Milledgeville. They have a crisis service center there that is not attached to a crisis stabilization unit, which is the model mostly done throughout the state. But what we're looking for is a crisis service center that is not attached to a crisis stabilization unit. So they're going to take us on a tour, show us what they've got, how has worked in their partnership with DBHDD, because that's the model we want to use in the building that we purchased last year. In addition to that, we have February 1st, we will be having an all-day strategic planning meeting out at Costley Mill. This is sponsored and paid for by NACO. We were invited to we applied and were awarded one of 10 counties in the nation to work on our plan for the Stepping Up initiative. And they will be helping us develop a 5-year strategic plan that will include, you know, all of the things that go into helping our citizens have stable lives. We've been meeting with them since last year, and I don't remember when we started. Judge Mumford and I have worked on that, and law enforcement is on it, and some of our mental health professionals, you know, so it's a wide group that have been meeting with these consultants from across the country. And they will be coming in person to Rockdale on the 1st to guide us through the final. Survey was sent out to elected officials, to people who are involved in the criminal justice system, people who are in our accountability courts, people who provide mental health services, law enforcement, so that they could get an idea of what Rockdale County, you know, what we look like and what the citizens are thinking about and what's important. So I'm excited about that, because that will really jumpstart again the next phases of what we're doing. Housing is a big thing that both Commissioner Washington and I are working on, though we're working on different segments. You can't just say housing. I mean, it runs the gamut. And so that housing, I mentioned earlier that we had a meeting last week. We are continuing to do that. Transportation is also another issue that is highly connected to the stability of a community and to the stability of individuals and their families being able to get to where they need to go. Not everyone has everything they need, and so transportation, community transportation can be important. So as you were talking about human trafficking, there's also been a large emphasis on scams that target seniors. And sometimes they're very subtle, and they catch people who are well-educated and you know, who are aware of things. Sometimes even they get involved. My brother got involved in one of those scams because they called and said his grandson was in need of some funds because he'd had trouble someplace, and instead of calling his grandson, he said, oh, okay. You know, and now, my brother has a master's degree. He's a retired colonel from the Army. He's not dumb. But, so they target everybody, and so you have to really, really be careful. But they tend to target seniors who may have money, investments, or you know, money set aside for their retirement, that kind of thing. So we need to be on guard, just like we do for human trafficking. We just need to be on guard all the time. The judicial complex, I couldn't be happier about that. The report that we got today. I'm really excited. That also has been a process. a 4-year process, actually longer than that. You know, a 40-year process. But that is going to be important to meet the needs currently and to make sure that we have space moving forward to provide the services for our county as the county grows. When I moved here almost 30 years ago, 29 years ago, you know, I think there were 70,000 people. And now we're at almost 100,000 people. And so, you know, we expect in the next 10, 15, 20 years to grow, you know, continue that growth. Rockdale has a lot to offer, and people recognize that. So, Don, I appreciate the work that you did. I was able to talk with the others when they were here earlier. That was a huge project, and I'm glad it was fun. That makes it, you know, when your work is fun, it's not work.
Right.
And so I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with that complex. And speaking of work that's fun, I love being a commissioner because I think the work is fun. So.
All right, very good. All right, Commissioner Washington?
Actually, I have nothing else.
All right. Well, speaking of fun and the judicial complex, I want to offer Mr. Murphy an opportunity to come up and tell us a little bit about his experience as one of the members of the task force. We know we had another obligation earlier this morning, and we highlighted them, but we'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to yield to you, Mr. Don Murphy.
Absolutely. First of all, I've got sticky fingers, and I borrowed a book. I don't know how to get this. While serving the task force. That's been on my desk for a while, so.
You see how dedicated, it's a book about courthouses.
Yes.
So, that's dedication.
Yes.
But no, it was quite a process. Thanks for Sue keeping us on track and being that support, that backbone for the committee. And thanks to Janice Van Ness, who chaired it, and all those who participated. It was all a labor of love because we certainly wanted to be a participant. I think all of us were willing participants in the process, and to hopefully come up with a solution that makes sense for the commissioners and indeed for the citizens of this county, this great county. And hopefully that's what we achieved. I do like the option, I think it was CA2 or something like that, where we reroute Millstead, giving us more green space and more stuff for community. Why not? It's not that much to sort of swing around and rejoin the main street up here. So hopefully that was well received, and again, it was fun. It really was. Yeah.
Well, again, let's give him a round of applause. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your dedication. And we enjoyed watching each and every one of the options that were presented. And we look forward to seeing what the future brings in terms of this project overall. So thank you so much. Just a couple of things I want to do this morning before we close out in terms of my comments. I do want to get a quick, and I do mean quick, cake version of the Grenada Road Sidewalk Project from Director Kelly from Transportation. It's a big project we've been working with the Rockdale County Board of Education with to provide a safe space for our young people. Update us, sir.
So at this point, good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Chairman. At this point, we are complete with all major infrastructure. Only thing we are completing is the striping of the road. So we are substantially complete.
Round of applause. That's big news, and we look for, yes.
About the striping of the sidewalk. Is it done?
It's in progress.
Okay.
So, Director Kelly, we look forward to hearing more as you bring this project to a final wrap-up, and we look forward to being a part of the ribbon cutting with you and all the other directors and people that's going to play a part, and particularly the local school system who's a part of this project as well. So I wanted to make sure we receive that update because, again, if you drive along the area of Heritage High School, then you know how dangerous that road is, and the curves on that road and the way folks drive down that road, and particularly knowing that our young people, we still have kids who walk to school in the morning hours and in the evening. So we're really watching that one. That one's high up on the radar. I don't know who's going to give us this update, but someone from RWR, Viewpoint Condominiums and the water situation, Director Peak or Deputy Director Jameson? As Deputy Director Jameson is coming up, this has been, Commissioners, I'm sure you all are aware, this is one of the hot concerns and topics. Viewpoint Condominiums is a privately owned condominium community here off of the Pine Log Road area in Rockdale County. And I think there's been some management change. Deputy Director Jameson, tell us what's going on. We've been inundated with emails and text messages. There's a lot of concern in our community.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners. Happy New Year to all of you all. So we have been working and speaking with Viewpoint. You took the words right out of my mouth, Mr. Chairman. It is a privately owned master metered community. And for those that don't know what that means, it's one meter that services the whole community. And that community is privately owned. Their water is private. Their sewer is private. Rockdale Water owns everything up into the meter. After that point, it belongs to the community. Now, you all know also that some communities have been looking to sub-meter their community, so it creates an equitable relationship between the HOA and its residents to ensure everybody is paying their part. About a year ago, we were informed that their HOA decided to move with a private utility company and to begin to sub-meter that particular area. As a result of that, that community has reached out to RWR to see how we can intervene along with some of the other state agencies. And unfortunately, we're in a place where it's completely private and we don't have any jurisdiction as it relates to that particular community. We did meet with them a few times. We met with them just the other day with Commissioner Washington. One of the things that we've done a little legwork for that community because we understand it is a low-income community and a lot of seniors are there. We are happy to say we're going to actually reach out to the private utility because I reached out to the Department of Human Services and they told us that they were actually able, if they went into a contract similar to Rockdale Water Resources in Rockdale County, that they can provide some type of assistance with homeowners or condominium owners who are having trouble satisfying or paying their bill. And so we're going to connect them in that way, but it is right now a completely private system that we don't have jurisdiction over.
So where do they get their water?
So their water comes, so if I can paint the picture, it's almost like your home, right? If you had people living in your home in different rooms in your home, the water comes to your home. So the water comes to the whole community through a master meter. If you decide.
So it's like RWR water.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
But if you decide to then charge someone living in your home who's living in a room, you can charge them almost what you want for water or rent as you go from there. Now, there are some regulations in many places where you can't bill them exorbitantly more for what we've already built them, but it is the homeowner association's pleasure that if they agree to go with someone private, then they will actually bill them separately for their individual usage, because in times past, the homeowners association depended upon the dues of the homeowners to actually pay the water bill. And what happens over time, in some instances, those homeowners aren't paying those dues, so it puts the homeowners association at a disadvantage, unfortunately, to pay those water bills.
So, this is one of the communities that I was talking about, where we had people advocating on other people. So we met with several residents over there yesterday who were advocating for the seniors, and we're working with finance and RWR to try to, if they're without water, come up with a program where we can provide some kind of temporary relief, so, for the water. It won't be us paying bills or getting, but we're trying to work on, them having at least some drinking water.
Okay, well, that part is very important that you said, Commissioner, having drinking water, because what I don't want to do is mislead anybody
Right,
that
I
from.
don't want anybody
Right.
to be misled either. It's not, we're not
Right.
trying to pay bills or whatever. We're just trying to make sure that people can take their medicine, that if they have small children, that they can, have, formula, things like that on a temporary basis to get them through to the next
Absolutely.
side.
So are we saying that there are some of those condominiums that don't have water?
Yes, they are condominium, from what we're understanding, there are, several units over there where the people do not have their meters, and the water is turned off, and, they don't have water right now.
Oh, my God.
So one of the reasons I wanted RWR Deputy Director Jamison to give us an update on this, because as I stated, we received a number of emails, calls, text messages. I've been getting them almost around the clock over the last 48 hours from multiple people. First of all, let me say this. This board, this leadership is certainly empathetic about the situation. As Commissioner Washington pointed out, as I stated earlier at the start of this meeting, water is essential. We have to have water. Families have to have water. Children, seniors, people, we all got to have water. However, this is a very unique situation, as the Deputy Director has explained. There are rules, protocols, procedures, and regulations that prohibit us from doing certain things. The benevolent part of providing water and bottled water, we can help with that. Here's what I really believe listening to this report this morning. Oftentimes in a lot of basic situations, and I don't know whether you want to classify this one as basic, but people don't talk. I think this is an opportunity for the Homeowners Association and the management, and perhaps even the board of directors or the owners or the investors of this particular community to put their heads together and come together. That's not for county government to get ourselves involved and interject ourselves. We care and we are concerned about our residents, but there is a threshold that we have to monitor and we have to adhere to. So my encouragement to anyone that's listening and watching, talk, communicate. And sometimes the best way to talk and communicate is to hire you an attorney, hire you a lawyer, someone that can advocate and articulate on your behalf to make sure that you get the representation that you need. Now, yes, Rockdale County is the source of the water. We own our reservoir. But through the agreement, as there are multiple agreements with multiple apartment complexes and HOAs throughout Rockdale County, we cannot be selective and pick and choose who, what, when, and where. Our hearts go out to all of those families. And we're going to do everything that we can do for those that are in need of water, that we can help with the aid in terms of bottled water and rendering that type of support for our seniors and for young people, and as I stated, for everybody. But I wanted to get clarification this morning, and really wanted to, commissioners, just put it out there, that we don't have a deaf ear to this situation. We are well aware, but to some degree, we may not be arrested, but we're certainly handcuffed. And we've got to just stand tall until the situation plays out. In the interim, I encourage people, number one, to talk, communicate, and perhaps find you some legal representation for the folks over at Viewpoint Condominiums that can assist them. Director Jamison, Director Peak, Director Davis, all of you all in RWR, thank you for meeting with every one of those concerned citizens, talking with the management group and the HOA and explaining to them the process. Please continue to keep Chief Sanders, myself, and the commissioners abreast as we continue to move forward. Hats off to you, Commissioner Washington, for leading the effort in terms of the bottled water initiative. let us know how and what we can do to aid and assist with that, to make sure that if there's anyone that needs bottled water, we can get it over there to them. Keep up the good work. We are praying for that community. It's a concern, and again, hopefully this can be taken care of and satisfied, or bring to a positive conclusion and closure in the next few days ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We've been talking about benevolence throughout this meeting, and talking about the fact that it's a tough time right now for a lot of people. And people call on the Board of Commissioners. They call on their representatives to help them and give them direction. It does aches our hearts when we cannot help, when there's things that we cannot do, and because of certain legal ramifications we just can't do. But I still believe, and I'm going to say this because I'm optimistic, I believe that we are in a county that care, and with the number of local churches, over 300 churches in Rockdale County, I believe that there's help, and it's out there, and that if people just band together, we will continue to take care of our neighbors and our fellow men and women throughout Rockdale County. The next thing I do want to talk about is the upcoming info sessions. They're going to kick off in the month of February. A lot of what Commissioner Washington made mention to Commissioner Williams earlier about the number of folks attending our meetings is because we have been doing an excellent job with educating and informing, so to the point that we've orchestrated and put together a program called Info Sessions. It's going to kick off in the month of February. Each and every one of the 15 county departments, plus some auxiliary departments, will be over in the auditorium teaching, explaining, giving information about the ins and outs of each and every department. People need to be educated and informed about how government works. So there's a great opportunity. We're going to be doing this all year long. So don't forget to pay attention to Channel 23, all of our media outlets. It's everywhere. They're blasting it like crazy, and we're looking forward to seeing you pack the auditorium and ask the questions and get involved and participate in our upcoming info sessions. Also, this year, we're getting a head start on the State of the County address. We're going back to a model that we had in previous years. We're going to have two versions of the State of the County address. There will be a morning corporate breakfast version. There will be an evening community style version. We've done that several times in the past. This year, the State of the County address will be on Thursday, March the 30th. So make sure you save the date in advance and make sure that you come out. And certainly for all of our citizens, that evening event is exclusively for the residents, the citizens, and the taxpayers of Rockdale County. Make sure they come out. More of the morning style is more business, corporate type atmosphere, but citizens are, again, welcome to that one as well. But we have really designed the evening presentation of the State of the County address. We've got so many good things to talk about as we continue to move Rockdale County forward. So we're really, as Executive Director Holmes would say, we're super excited about the State of the County address that's coming up. I want to say thank you to Chief Sanders, to Ms. Lee, the Executive Assistant to the Chairman in the Office of the Chairman. Yes, I took a break. Each year toward the end of the year, I typically take a big break so I can kind of recharge and reboot a little bit and get my faculties together so I can come back and deal with whatever. So thank you for holding it down. Thank you to all of our directors in each one of our departments for keeping the bloodstained banner waving high and up on the flagpole and keeping Rockdale rocking and rolling. We've, I don't know, Executive Director Rutledge, are there any announcements between you and Chief Sanders that we need to make sure we put out before we close this meeting out?
Well, I could make a few announcements about our schedule. So I know everyone's aware last week when we got the bad weather warning, we ended up canceling a few meetings, which also means that the zoning public hearing that we had scheduled for January 26th, all of those items have been moved to February. So all of the first reads you heard this morning will start the public hearing process in February. So I just wanted to make sure we have that announcement. I can also talk a little bit about the kickoff of the Rockdale County Comprehensive Land Use Plan update. We will officially start ours on Thursday, February the 23rd at 6 p.m. And what that will look like that night is the Atlanta Regional Commission will join us for probably about a 10 or 15 minute overview of what that process will look like. So we thought it would be best to have them at one of our public hearings, and then from there you'll be able to participate in a handful of community meetings that will be held. ARC is creating a website dedicated to this that has all the information that you will need. So there's more to come in February, but that is getting started. So those were a couple of the items that I wanted to point out, and I think that's it for now.
Chief Sanders?
Yes, I did just want to take a moment. I know that you all and the task force thanked Director Hammer and myself, but there were a lot of other people to recognize as well. Donna Ballard came to all the meetings and took notes. Director Moore Jackson came from Technology Services with some of her staff they were at every meeting representing to hear what's going on, because technology runs right in line with security. Also, the sheriff's office, they held courthouse security every night that we had a task force meeting. Judge Mumford, he allowed us to use his courtroom. They were all public meetings, so also provided his security. They allowed that. Miss Lisa Chester attended the meetings on behalf of the commissioners as well. So I did want to make sure that I thank those. We get a lot of the recognition, but there's also staff that are there with us.
Thank you, Chief, and as I say, no one gets anything
Right.
done by themselves. Let's give all of them a round of applause.
And I did just want to mention there's an event, it was mentioned, Ms. Gellert, but it's this Thursday, the front porch discussions
Yes.
at the Rockdale Career Academy, and it's at 6 p.m. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
And while the chief, just two other things, while the chief made mention of the front porch discussion that's going to take place on the 26th, is that correct? And what's the location again, Chief?
Rockdale Career Academy, and it is 1064 Culpeper Drive, 6 p.m., January 26th.
So what Front Porch is a collaboration between the county, the city of Conyers, school board, the hospital, and the Chamber of Commerce, all coming together to hear from the citizens in Rockdale County. This is another grand opportunity on a greater scale for folks who have concerns, ideas, suggestions about the direction of our community as a whole, for folks to gain information about how we're going and what we're doing as a community. We've come together, and it's called Front Porch. We're kind of taking a front porch approach to sitting there and answering those questions and providing information. So that's another exciting thing. If you're really concerned about what's going on, I did hear Ms. Gillett said she's got some already questions ready, lined up for the folks that's going to be basically sitting on the front porch. So we encourage you to come out and hear that. I think we're also advertising that on Channel 23 as well. Is that right? Director Mims is being advertised. Real quick, before we close out, Director Moore Jackson, you provoked thought, Chief Sanders, has served as the lead on the Infrastructure Planning Task Force. Director Moore Jackson, if you would please give us a brief as to where you all are, because I think you're about to wrap that up pretty soon. And for those that don't know, just tell them a little bit about who we are and what we're doing here, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Madam Commissioners, and Happy New Year to you all. And yes, sir, we have been working on the Chairman's Infrastructure Planning Task Force. The task force started in November of this past year, and we had a community meeting in November. We had another meeting December the 13th, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 31st at 6 p.m. at J.P. Carr Community Center. This task force has been taking a look at the infrastructure planning throughout Rockdale County. All of our key departments have been involved in this. We started the task force community meetings off with presentations by the Atlanta Regional Commission, where the Atlanta Regional Commission gave information, very in-depth information on the infrastructure throughout Rockdale County, the status of our infrastructure now, the planning of our infrastructure moving forward. And we have also included, the meetings have included presentations by the deputy directors from several of our departments here in the county, looking at all of our key infrastructure to include water, the stormwater department, Parks and Recreations Department, Planning and Development Department, Public Relations Department. And it's taking all of this information, providing it to the citizens, and taking another opportunity to educate the citizens in Rockdale County that have been selected to work on this task force. Also, we have heard from our citizens during this task force meetings. And our most recent meeting, for example, in December, we included an activity where the departments gave presentations and provided additional facts about the different infrastructure within the different departments. And then the citizens were also given an opportunity to participate in a SWOT activity pertaining to each of the departments that gave the presentations. In our next meeting, we will go over some of the information provided by the citizens and give them additional facts pertaining to the department, sir.
Thank you, Director, and thank you for the work that you and the Infrastructure Planning Task Force have done over the last almost now 90 days. Well, let me just say a quick backdrop about this particular task force. This was birthed out of the fact that had been a lot of concern about construction and development, all of the different projects that you see moving and dirt being turned all throughout Rockdale County, whether it's a new townhouse, condo, apartment complex, or a new building, or warehouse, or a new commercial retail facility. There were concerns about whether or not we had enough water, whether or not we could control and manage the traffic, whether the schools had enough capacity to be able to handle the influx and the growth of the community with the number of students coming into our community. This task force was able to partner up with the Atlanta Regional Commission and receive data and information from them, as she stated, in-depth information that can bring answers to those questions. This is somewhat of a prelude to what we're already doing. Ms. Lisa Chester serves as our Chief Strategy Officer on behalf of Rockdale County Board of Commissioners. She's working already to make sure that our strategic plan going forward, along with the work that's coming out of our Planning and Development Department and led by Executive Director Rutledge, with our comprehensive plan from all of our county departments. We must be able to inform and educate the citizens, but the piece that I like is making sure that we hear from the citizens. Now, for all those citizens, for whatever reason, that didn't have an opportunity to come out and hear about what was going on with the Infrastructure Planning Task Force, don't worry. You're going to have that opportunity all month long in the month of February with our info sessions. So if you missed out with a little bit of this, you're going to certainly be able to come back throughout the month of February and beyond as they kick it off and talk about the different departments. Now, tell us about your wrap-up and your last meeting and your report coming forward.
Yes, sir, and also may I add, we also had presentations from Rockdale County Public Schools, and we also had presentations from the Sheriff's Office also, and they're working with us on this, collaborating with us on this effort. And our next meeting is Tuesday, January 31st, and like in our last meeting will be held in February. And at that meeting, we will provide a wrap-up and give a preview of the infrastructure resources, which will be hosted on the Rockdale County website.
Again, thank you, Director Moore Jackson. Give her a round of applause. Absolutely. So as we move into 2023, I do want to remind all of our citizens that Rockdale County, just like any other private industry that's out in the community, we are challenged with the struggle of attracting and retaining qualified, competent help and talent. Our Sheriff's Office, our Fire and Rescue, in fact, to be very intentional, talk about Fire and Rescue, They're going through a recruit class right now, but at the same time, we've had to shut down a fire station or two and consolidate our efforts in order to make sure that we had coverage. And just so that the service level of quality service to all of our citizens, we never skipped a beat on that in Rockdale County. We made sure that if someone called 911 and they needed a fire truck or a rescue, we were able to dispatch them and deploy a team out there. But having to be able to hire enough people that want to be firefighters or want to be deputy sheriffs and want to work in parks and rec or code enforcement, it is a challenge. And it's a bigger challenge for government because of the competitive pay situation that we're having to compete against the private industries out there. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out. When you run into any of our employees out and about in the street doing what they do to keep this county moving, a kind word, a nice word, a thank you goes a long way. And we appreciate that, and we appreciate you. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there, because oftentimes people can really be watching with a critique sheet, looking for you to do something wrong, sitting on the edge of the seat, always complaining. But yet there's a lot of good that's going on. We heard a whole meeting of good information this morning into this afternoon. Director Rutledge, is there any need for executive session?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. Thank you for coming out. This meeting is adjourned.